Let's come back to the ongoing concerns over migration. The meeting's taking place later today in Paris between senior representatives of the British and French governments. Enoch in Fishguard, you're on the radio. What are you going to tell me? Good morning.
A couple of points to make on this story, if that's okay, Nick.
Go ahead.
Firstly, if you excuse the pun, the illegal small boat crossings in the Channel are a drop in the ocean. Currently, we have somewhere between 300,000 and 600,000 people coming, in quotation marks, legally into this country.
Right.
And the Conservative government is facilitating that. Now, we actually know for a fact that the British people don't want this.
How do we know that?
I'll explain. There was a very good survey carried out by a lady called Laura Towler, who works for a group called Patriotic Alternative. And they did
as soon as I hear Patriotic Alternative, I'm just wondering if it's a little skewed, this research. I'm not familiar with neither with the woman nor the organisation, I have to say.
I can explain this quite well.
Okay.
The methodology, they've published their methodology. They surveyed about 2,000 people in the UK. And the methodology, as far as I can tell, I've gone through it.
Yeah, respectfully, 2,000 people don't speak to a population of nearly 70 million, do they?
Yes, of course. I mean,
surveys
get thrown. Surveys and results like this get thrown around all the time. Right. And I can say this with some confidence, with much worse methodology than this survey was carried out.
Right.
And it shows that the British people don't want any more migration into this country and would like to see it stopped. Now,
I'm sorry. I want to bring someone else into the conversation. I just don't agree because, listen, without controlled migration. Now, if you're saying uncontrolled, yes, put that word in, I'm with you. Control. We need it. We are an ageing country. We need people to come in. Let me bring someone else in. Jason in Grays, what would you like to say to my other contributor? Good morning.
Good morning to you. Great call from Hussein about half an hour ago.
Yes.
Before 9 o'clock.
That's the gentleman who came here from Iran. Yeah.
Yeah, came from Iran, 25 days, crossing Europe, crossing multiple countries legally. I want to point out, across the world, 79 million people are currently displaced from their homes.
Right.
26 million people around the world are refugees.
Right.
We're crying every day in the media right now about a few thousand people crossing the Channel. Why shouldn't they stay in France? Why don't they stop in Germany? And you echoed that point, shouldn't they stop in the first safe country they get to? That's not actually accurate. And the United Nations rules from 1951, enforced and reinforced by United Kingdom judges under UK sovereign law that we signed up to, they've said that these people crossing the Channel are legal migrants, not illegal. They have a destination country of the United Kingdom unless they've claimed for it or tried to apply for asylum in France or Germany or somewhere else on the way here. Then they're absolutely entitled to cross the Channel and come to the United Kingdom and apply for asylum here.
What would you say to my other contributor who says that the majority of British population don't want any migration whatsoever? What would you say to Enoch?
I would say there's certainly a percentage. I would never say it's the majority of the population, but we do have quite a substantial issue, anti-immigrant issue at the moment, and it's got worse over the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, let's bring Enoch back in.
You read some of the Facebook posts, and there's some really, really nasty people in the United Kingdom, like it or not, but they're out there, and they're generally on the websites and the Facebook pages that have patriotic in the name.
Well, I'm not suggesting for a moment, Enoch, that you are one of those people, but why do you have such a negative perception of migration?
Well, I mean, it's not he who has a negative perception of migration. I'll explain this. I'll try and explain it. I'm not a great talker, but quite simply, anywhere you get large numbers of migrants appearing in the UK, you get white flight. Now, you can argue about this, but it's undeniable, and everyone knows it's true.
Oh, dear, this is going to get rather difficult. You don't point to the geographical areas of which you speak.
London, Birmingham, Luton,
Okay. There are parts of London, and for instance, the greatest number of people going into a part of London called Brixton are actually white ex-university students who want to get into Brixton. I think the same can be said of Hackney. It's simply not true.
Hold on. Look at the number.
Jason.
Can I address that? Really quickly? Jason. Nigel Farage tweeted yesterday 150 new migrants invading the United Kingdom yesterday. Right? 150 people. If that happened every single day, 7 days a week, every single month for 10 years, the United Kingdom population would increase by 0.009%.
Right.
We're not being overrun. It's not an invasion. It's a media populist, disgusting, frankly, abuse of these poor people who are trying to cross the channel.
Let's bring Enoch back in. Enoch?
Absolutely outrageous claim. Firstly, he's just backing up what I'm saying. I've told you the illegal crossings in the channel, these invaders in the channel, are a drop in the ocean.
Well,
no, not
channel.
Oh, shut up.
No. Hang on. No. Enoch. By the way, Enoch, you don't have to answer this question. I'm just intrigued. Is that your real first name?
No.
Right. Why do you find it necessary to not use your real first name?
I don't know. Probably because some of the things I say are a little bit spicy, maybe.
Well, I'll regulate that. But anyway, I'd ask you not to ask people to shut up. We don't really talk to each other like that. So address the point you make, but imagine that you are actually face-to-face rather than just sort of shouting at each other down the phone. What is it that you want to challenge Jason on? Enoch, would you give me your real name? I mean, you don't have to, but would you do it?
What, after the show or right now on air?
Right now.
It's Natty the Groiper.
It's Natty. Oh, right. OK, I'd rather use Natty. I don't get the last bit. All right. Natty, what would you like to challenge Jason on?
He's a subversive traitor. This idea that we can just carry on pumping people into the country is ridiculous. It's unsustainable. We're going to be a minority by 2066.
Whoa, who's we? Hang on a second. Who's we are going to be a minority?
The indigenous British people of the United Kingdom.
Right. Okay. Let's bring Jason back in. There is, by the way, the clue is in my last name, and that I'm fairly relaxed about migration. Jason, how would you address that?
I'd say that's kind of a hard argument to discuss. But, I mean, what we're looking at, we're talking about human beings, right? There's billions of us all over the world. The United Kingdom, we've actually built on about 12% of the United Kingdom. 12%. We have more land, I suppose, allocated to golf courses than we do for housing. We have plenty of space. We're not being overrun. The figures that I just gave you, 150 people entering the country every day for 10 years would increase the population by 0.009%.
You do agree migration should be controlled, don't you? Or are you come one, come all? You're happy with uncontrolled?
Uncontrolled? We're not talking about uncontrolled migration.
Well,
I mean, these
people landing on the beach in
out of their
Kent.
homes.
No, hold on, my friend. People landing on the beach in Kent is uncontrolled. You're in favour
right now, Nick?
Yeah.
Right now, Nick, 65 million Brits can get on ferries and they can go to the European Union.
Right. Okay.
Because we have freedom of movement. But 65 million British people don't do that.
No.
Because it's just it's uncontrolled migration. But people don't do that because it's uncontrolled.
Just to support
We're not
what
all
Nat
leaving.
is saying, you do believe in controls, don't you?
We have visas that we use the Home Office issue every year.
Right.
More than half of immigration into the United legal immigration through visa requirements and from the EU.
Right.
More than half of immigrants working and living in the United Kingdom are not even from the European Union.
All right, let's get Natty back in. Natty, I don't understand why you don't even want controlled immigration.
Well, I mean, first, let's just note that your other guest couldn't even answer the question. Do you understand now why I call him subversive and traitor?
Well, again, you see, I'd rather we just sort of spoke
in
polite terms.
I'll move on.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was your question, Nick?
Surely you agree in controlled immigration.
Control, if you had real control, the kind of controls that the British people wanted, you would probably have a migration figure of about 5,000 a year. Anything else is unacceptable.
Hold on, you've just closed down the university sector because
I don't care. I don't care.
It's worth billions. No, my friend, it's worth billions to the economy in tax revenue.
I'll tell you what it's not worth.
No.
You can say it's worth billions to the economy.
It
Hold
is.
on, Nick. I'll tell you what it's not worth, Nick.
Go on.
It is not worth the collapse of our history, our culture, and the rights and the homeland of our people. It's not worth that.
All right. Okay. Strong views. My thanks to Jason and to Natty. Hopefully we've had a fair exchange. Apologies to anyone who feels offended by any of the language, particularly perhaps the way one of the callers chose to speak to the other. We'll move on now, get to the 9:45 LBC News headlines. Holly Harris.